the one that started it all. When the 707-120 took to the skies in the late 50s, it wasn't just a new plane, it was a cultural shift. This was the first production variant, powered by 4 Pratt & Whitney JT3C turbojets. It was loud, it was smoky, and it was revolutionary. Pan Am used this beauty to usher in the jet age, slashing travel times across the Atlantic. However, it had a thirst for fuel and required incredibly long runways to get its heavy frame into the air. It was the rough draft that proved the world was ready to fly fast. The B stands for better, specifically the introduction of the JT3D turbofan engines. The 707-120B was a massive upgrade over the original. These new engines were quieter, more powerful, and significantly more fuel efficient. Boeing also refined the aerodynamics, adding leading-edge flaps to improve takeoff and landing performance. This version turned the 707 from a risky experiment into the backbone of global aviation. It allowed airlines to actually turn a profit while flying passengers at nearly the speed of sound. The 707-138 is a bit of an oddity. It was a short-body version built specifically for Qantas. Why? Because the standard 707 was too heavy to make the long trek from Australia to Fiji or Honolulu with a full load. By chopping 10 feet out of the fuselage, Boeing saved weight and increased the range. Only 13 of these stubby jets were ever built. They were the ultimate long-distance specialists of their day, proving that sometimes less is more when you have an entire ocean to cross. Take that specialized short-body frame and slap on those revolutionary turbofan engines, and you get the 707-138B. This was the definitive version for Qantas. It combined the lighter weight of the shortened fuselage with the raw efficiency of the B-series upgrades. This plane was a thoroughbred, capable of sprinting across the Pacific with ease. It remained a favorite for years, and famously, one of these original airframes was later owned and piloted by actor John Travolta. Think of the 707-220 as the hot rod of the family. It used the same airframe as the 120, but was stuffed with the massive JT4A engines intended for the larger 300 series. Why? Braniff International Airways needed a plane that could handle high and hot conditions in South America. It had incredible climbing power, but it was a gas hog. Only 5 were ever built, making it one of the rarest production variants in the entire 707 lineup. The 707-320 was the Intercontinental. This was the big brother. It featured a longer fuselage, a larger wingspan, and more fuel capacity. This was the plane that truly conquered the Atlantic, allowing airlines to fly non-stop from New York to Rome or Paris, regardless of the winds. It used the powerful JT4A turbojets to haul its massive takeoff weight. If the 120 started the jet age, the 320 mastered it, becoming the gold standard for long-haul luxury. The 707-320B took the large Intercontinental frame and added the efficiency of turbofan engines. This was the peak of passenger 707 design. It featured redesigned wingtips that reduced drag and further boosted range. This variant could fly over 6,000 miles without breaking a sweat. It was so reliable and capable that it became the preferred choice for major airlines for over a decade, representing the most successful passenger version of the entire program. The Advanced was the final polish on a masterpiece. The 707-320B Advanced featured minor aerodynamic tweaks and improved engine pylons, but most importantly, it adopted structural reinforcements developed for the cargo version. It was the most refined flying experience a 707 passenger could have. By this point, Boeing had squeezed every ounce of performance out of the airframe, creating a jet that was as reliable as a Swiss watch and as tough as a tank. The C stands for convertible. The 707-320C featured a massive side-loading cargo door and a strengthened floor. This allowed airlines to switch between carrying passengers, carrying freight, or a combi mix of both. It was incredibly versatile and actually became the most produced version of the 707. Long after passengers moved on to the wide-body 747, the 320C kept flying as a dedicated freighter, hauling boxes across the globe. The 707-420 was essentially a 320 airframe, but with a British twist. It was powered by Rolls-Royce Conway engines instead of the usual American Pratt & Whitney units. These were the world's first production bypass engines, a precursor to the modern turbofan. They were slightly more efficient and quieter. This version was primarily ordered by BOAC and Lufthansa, proving that the 707 airframe was flexible enough to house the best technology from both sides of the Atlantic. Originally designated as the 707-020, the 720 was a high-speed, short to medium-range specialist. Boeing shortened the fuselage by about 8 feet and lightened the structure. It was designed to compete with the Douglas DC-8 on shorter domestic routes. Because it was so much lighter than the Intercontinental versions, it had a reputation for being a rocket ship on takeoff. It was the perfect tool for hopping between major cities, where a full-sized 707 was overkill. The 720B was the ultimate evolution of the short airframe. By adding JT3D turbofans to the lightened 720 body, Boeing created a plane with staggering performance. It could climb faster and fly higher than almost anything else in the sky at the time. Airlines loved it for its turnaround speed and efficiency on busy corridors. While it looked like a 707, its soul was that of a sprinter, designed for quick bursts of speed and high-frequency service. The VC-137A was the United States Air Force's first real step into the jet age for VIP transport. Based on the 707-120, these 3 aircraft were strictly for high-ranking officials and the president. Initially, they were powered by the older, smokier turbojets, which meant they were loud enough to let everyone in Washington know when the boss was leaving town. They represented a massive leap in speed over the old propeller-driven planes, cutting travel times for diplomacy in half. When the turbofan revolution hit, the Air Force didn't want to be left behind. The VC-137B was the result of upgrading those original A models with the more powerful and efficient JT3D engines. This wasn't just about saving fuel, it was about range and safety. These jets could now operate out of shorter runways and fly further across the globe without stopping, ensuring that the American leadership was always reachable, no matter the distance. This is the legend. The VC-137C is better known by its radio call sign when the Commander-in-Chief is aboard: Air Force One. Specifically, tail number 26000 and 27000. Based on the 707-320B, these jets featured a specialized interior, secure communications, and that iconic blue and white livery. These planes didn't just carry presidents, they were flying symbols of American power, serving from the Kennedy era all the way through the Clinton administration. Not every VIP jet needs a presidential suite. The C-137B was the workhorse version of the military 707. These were basically 120B airframes used for general high-priority transport. Whether it was moving a general to a front line or a diplomatic team to a summit, these planes provided the reliability of the 707 platform without the Air Force One bells and whistles. They were the unsung heroes of military logistics. The C-137C was the long-range cargo and transport equivalent of the big 320B. These aircraft were often used for special missions that required the extra legs of the Intercontinental airframe. With their high payload capacity and impressive range, they were the go-to choice for the Air Force when they needed to move a lot of people or sensitive gear across an ocean in a hurry, all while maintaining the classic 707 profile. Before the world knew the Sentry, there was the EC-137D. These were 2 prototype aircraft built to prove that you could actually mount a massive rotating radar dome on top of a 707. It was a massive engineering challenge, balancing the aerodynamics of a giant mushroom on the fuselage while stuffing the cabin with cutting-edge electronics. These prototypes paved the way for the modern era of airborne early warning and control. The E-3A Sentry is perhaps the most recognizable 707 derivative ever built. With that massive 30-foot rotating radar dome, it became the God's eye view for NATO and the US Air Force. Inside, the seats were replaced by rows of computer consoles and radar operators. It could track low-flying aircraft over land or water across thousands of square miles. It turned the 707 from a passenger jet into a tactical powerhouse that could orchestrate an entire air war. As technology advanced, so did the Sentry. The E-3B Sentry was an upgraded version of the original A model. The Air Force realized they needed more than just a radar. They needed a command center. The B model brought in faster computers, better jamming resistance, and improved communication links. It allowed the crew to not only see the enemy, but also coordinate complex strikes with friendly fighters in real time, making it the ultimate quarterback of the sky. The E-3C Sentry took those upgrades even further, specifically focusing on the consoles and the way operators interacted with the data. It introduced the Block 30/35 upgrades, which added more workstations and refined the radar's ability to pick out tiny targets in cluttered environments. It was all about processing power, taking the massive amounts of data coming off that rotating dome and turning it into actionable intelligence for the pilots on the front line. The E-3D Sentry was the variant built specifically for the Royal Air Force, known in the UK as the Sentry AEW.1. Unlike the American versions, these were powered by CFM56 engines, the same ones you see on modern 737 jets. These engines were much larger and more efficient than the original JT3Ds. They also featured a refueling probe on the nose, allowing them to take on fuel from British tankers, making them a unique European evolution of the platform. Following the British lead, the French Air Force ordered the E-3F Sentry. Like the British D model, these used the more modern CFM56 engines. These jets allowed France to maintain its own independent airborne surveillance capability while remaining fully compatible with NATO operations. They are easily spotted by those larger engine nacelles, which give the aging 707 airframe a surprisingly modern look and significantly more get up and go. The E-3G Sentry represents the current state-of-the-art for the Sentry fleet. This isn't just a hardware upgrade, it's a total digital overhaul. The G model replaces the old 70s-era computers with modern, open architecture systems. It's designed to be easily updated with new software as threats evolve. While the outside looks like a classic 707, the inside is closer to a modern data center, capable of handling the high-speed data links of the 21st century. The KE-3A was a specialized tanker version of the Sentry airframe built for the Royal Saudi Air Force. It's a bit of a hybrid. It has the big CFM engines and the military systems, but instead of a radar dome, it carries refueling hoses. This allowed the Saudis to support their fighter fleets with a platform they already knew how to maintain. It's one of the few times the 707 was purpose-built as a tanker rather than being converted later in life. The E-6A Mercury is arguably the most critical plane you've never heard of. Based on the 707-320, its job was TACAMO, take charge and move out. Its mission? To provide a survivable communication link between the US National Command Authority and the Navy's nuclear ballistic missile submarines. It features a literal miles-long trailing wire antenna that it unspools from the tail to talk to subs deep underwater. It is the ultimate doomsday relay. Training a crew to fly a complex military jet like the E-3 is expensive, so the Air Force created the TC-18E. This was a trainer version of the 707 that lacked the expensive radar and mission systems. It allowed pilots to practice takeoffs, landings, and emergency procedures in an airframe that handled exactly like the Sentry, but at a fraction of the operating cost. It was the classroom for the next generation of AWACS pilots. Similar to the E model, the TC-18F was a dedicated trainer, but specifically used for training crews on the E-6 Mercury mission. Since the Mercury has different flight characteristics and cockpit layouts than the Sentry, the Navy needed a specific jet to get their pilots up to speed. It ensured that when a pilot stepped into a real E-6 for a strategic mission, they knew every switch and dial by heart. The C-18A jets were a collection of used 707-320B airframes that the military bought from commercial airlines. They served as gap fillers for various missions. Some were used for parts, some for specialized sensor testing, and others for hauling high-priority cargo. They proved that even a retired airliner still had plenty of life left if the military could find a creative use for it. The E-8CJ Stars is the ground war equivalent of the Sentry. Instead of looking for planes in the sky, its massive canoe-shaped radar under the fuselage looks for tanks, trucks, and troop movements on the ground. It can see through clouds and darkness to map an entire battlefield. These were built using refurbished civilian 707 airframes, proving once again that the 707 design was so robust it could be rebuilt decades later for a totally new mission. Every specialized mission needs a trainer, and that's where the TE-8A comes in. This was a single aircraft used to train E-8C pilots and flight engineers. It lacked the massive ground tracking radar, but allowed the crew to master the flight deck and basic systems of the J-Stars platform. It was the final evolution of the 707 as a teacher, ensuring that the legacy of this incredible aircraft would continue well into the 21st century. The EC-18B, also known as the ARIA or Advanced Range Instrumentation Aircraft, was a flying laboratory. These jets were easily recognized by their massive, bulbous Snoopy nose, which housed a 7-foot steerable antenna. Their mission was critical. They acted as a mobile telemetry station, tracking Apollo moon missions and later missile tests and satellite launches. By flying high above the clouds, the EC-18B could maintain a perfect line of sight with spacecraft, ensuring that NASA and the Department of Defense never lost contact with their hardware during the most dangerous phases of flight. It was a masterpiece of specialized engineering, turning a former airliner into a vital link between Earth and space. The Boeing 717-200 is a bit of an imposter in the Boeing family, as it actually began its life as the McDonnell Douglas MD-95. Following the 1997 merger, Boeing rebranded the jet to fill the 100-seat gap in their lineup. It was designed specifically for high-frequency, short-hop regional routes, featuring two fuel-efficient Rolls-Royce BR715 engines mounted at the rear. Pilots loved it for its modern glass cockpit and sports car handling, while airlines like Delta and Hawaiian appreciated its incredible reliability. It remains a quiet, efficient fan favorite that outlasted many of its rivals. The 717-200 HGW, or high gross weight version, was the long-distance athlete of the 717 family. While the standard model was built for quick regional hops, the HGW was designed to push the aircraft's limits. By increasing the maximum takeoff weight and expanding the fuel capacity, Boeing gave this jet a significant range boost, allowing it to fly over 2,000 nautical miles. This made it perfect for airlines needing to connect distant city pairs that didn't quite have the demand for a full-sized 737. It's the ultimate version of the 717, combining heavy-duty endurance with the agility of a small regional jet. The Boeing 727-100 was the pioneer that defied the skeptics, who thought a trijet would never work. Launched in 1963, it was specifically engineered for shorter runways, featuring a complex wing design with triple-slotted flaps that allowed it to land on a postage stamp. This was the plane that truly opened up regional jet travel, connecting smaller cities to major hubs for the first time. Its most iconic feature was the rear air stair, which allowed passengers to board without any ground equipment, a revolutionary move for 1960s aviation. Versatility was the name of the game for the 727-100C. By adding a massive 86 by 134-inch side cargo door and a reinforced cabin floor, Boeing created a transformer of the skies. Airlines could fly a full load of passengers during the day and, within a few hours, swap the interior to haul heavy palletized freight. This flexibility made it a goldmine for smaller airlines that needed to maximize their airframe utility. It bridged the gap between a luxury passenger liner and a rugged heavy lifter, proving the 727's airframe was incredibly tough. The 727-100 QC took the convertible concept and put it on steroids. While the standard C model took time to convert, The quick change version featured pelletized seating units that could be rolled on and off the aircraft in under 30 minutes. This allowed airlines like United and Braniff to run a split personality operation, flying business travelers during the day and high-priority mail or cargo at night. It was the ultimate efficiency machine, ensuring the aircraft was almost never sitting idle on the tarmac, earning money 24 hours a day. As noise regulations tightened in the 1980s, the aging 727 faced a crisis. It was just too loud. Enter the 727-100QF, or Quiet Freighter. This variant was a massive project for UPS, which re-engined their fleet with modern Rolls-Royce T651 turbofans. These new engines didn't just make the plane whisper quiet, they also increased fuel efficiency by 12% and boosted the payload capacity. It gave the classic -100 airframe a second lease on life, allowing it to fly into noise-sensitive airports deep into the night without waking up the neighbors. In 1967, Boeing decided to go big by stretching the original fuselage by 20 feet, creating the 727-200. This version could carry up to 189 passengers, making it a high-capacity powerhouse for domestic routes. However, the early 200s had a bit of a power-to-weight problem. Because they initially used the same engines as the shorter 100, they lacked the legendary rocket ship climbing performance of their predecessor. Despite this, the increased seat count made it a favorite for major carriers looking to move more people for less cost per seat. The 727-200 Advanced is the definitive version of the trijet. Introduced in 1970, it fixed every complaint about the original -200. It featured more powerful Pratt & Whitney engines, a significantly higher maximum takeoff weight, and much improved fuel capacity. This advanced tech package turned the 727 into a long-range beast that could fly transcontinental routes with ease. It became one of the most successful commercial jets in history, with over 900 units built, defining the look of every major airport from the 1970s through the 1990s. The 727-200C is one of the rarest birds in the Boeing catalog. While the 100 series had many convertibles, only one 727-200 was factory-built as a C model with the large main deck cargo door and the stretched fuselage. It was designed to offer the high volume capacity of the 200 series with the flexibility to carry mixed loads of passengers and freight. Because most airlines preferred either dedicated freighters or pure passenger configurations by this time, the 200C remains a unique footnote in the 727's long and storied production run. The 727-200F Advanced was the final evolution of the line, built specifically for the cargo boom of the 1980s. Unlike the C models, these had no windows at all, just a smooth, windowless fuselage optimized for structural integrity and freight volume. Federal Express was the primary customer, using these to build their global empire. With heavy-duty floors and a massive cargo door, these were the last 727s to ever roll off the assembly line in Renton, Washington in 1984, marking the end of an era for one of the world's most iconic aircraft. While the C and QC models were built to switch between roles, the 727-100F was a dedicated, purebred cargo hauler. These aircraft were often converted from original passenger airframes to give them a second life in the logistics world. The most obvious visual giveaway is the plugged windows, where the glass was replaced with metal panels to save weight and improve structural integrity. Stripped of their galleys and seats, these jets could carry nearly 50,000 pounds of freight, serving as the backbone for overnight delivery networks like FedEx and UPS for decades. The 727RE, better known as the Super 27, was a high-tech fountain of youth for the aging trijet. This wasn't a Boeing factory model, but a sophisticated upgrade package that replaced the two outboard engines with the much more powerful and quiet JT8D-217C engines found on the MD-80. By keeping the original center engine but upgrading the sides, the Super 27 gained incredible speed, better fuel economy, and could meet modern noise standards. It transformed an old workhorse into a modern performer that could outrun many newer jets. One of the most bizarre sights in aviation history was the 727 GE-36 UDF testbed. In the mid-80s, NASA and GE used a modified 727-100 to test the unducted fan engine. This engine looked like a jet, but had 2 rows of exposed, counter-rotating scimitar blades at the rear. It was an attempt to combine the speed of a jet with the fuel efficiency of a propeller. While the engine was incredibly efficient, it was also incredibly loud and complex. Though it never went into production, the data gathered on this 727 paved the way for modern engines. The C-22A was the military's way of bringing 727 reliability to the Pentagon. This was a single 727-100 acquired by the United States Air Force to serve as a high-speed VIP transport for the US Southern Command in Panama. It replaced older, slower piston engine planes, allowing military leaders to move across the Americas with jet-age speed and comfort. While it looked like a standard airliner on the outside, the interior was outfitted for secure communications and executive travel, making it a vital tool for regional diplomacy. The C-22B was a fleet of 4 727-100s used by the Air National Guard for troop transport and administrative flights. These planes were famous for their unique combat seating configuration, where all the passenger seats faced toward the rear of the aircraft for better safety during a potential crash. For decades, these jets were a common sight at military bases, shuttling personnel across the country. They were eventually retired in the early 2000s, but they proved that the 727 was just as capable in uniform as it was in civilian life. The C-22C represented the military's upgrade to the stretched fuselage of the 727-200. Used primarily by the Air Force, this variant took the increased capacity of the 200 series and turned it into a dedicated personnel transport airframe. It served as a bridge between the smaller executive jets and the massive heavy-lift transports like the C-5 or C-17. With its ability to land at smaller airports while still carrying nearly 200 people, the C-22C was the perfect middleweight boxer for military logistics and troop movements. While often confused with the RE series, the 727-100 Super 27 was a specific performance upgrade designed for the shorter 100 airframe. By installing the more powerful 217 series engines on the wings, this plane became a literal rocket. It was particularly popular for private owners and corporate flight departments who wanted the classic 727 look but needed the ability to climb quickly out of high-altitude airports like Aspen or Mexico City. It remains one of the fastest and most capable private heavy metal jets ever to fly. The 737-100 was the short little bird that started it all. It looked a bit stubby with those long cigar engines, but it changed how we fly short hops forever. Only 30 built, yet it paved the way for a giant legacy. The 737-200 was the true workhorse of the early jet age. With those louder engines and a slightly longer body, it could land on gravel strips in the middle of nowhere. It really brought jet travel to the distant corners. The 737-200C was a clever dual-purpose jet. It could haul a full load of people in the morning and switch to heavy cargo by night. It was the ultimate flexible tool for airlines needing to move absolutely everything. The 737-200QC was all about speed on the ground. Known as the quick change, crews could swap the seats for cargo pallets in less than an hour. It was a brilliant way to keep the airframe working around the clock. The 737-200 Advanced was the refined version that airlines loved. It featured better brakes and improved lift, making it much more efficient for short runways. It truly perfected the original design for the global market. The 737-T-43A was the Air Force's flying classroom. It lacked many windows, but was packed with desks for navigators to learn their trade. It served for decades, training the eyes that guided our most important missions. The 737C T-43A was a retired trainer that got a new life. Converted into a cargo and staff transport, it kept the military moving efficiently. It proved that even old-school tech can still do a lot of heavy lifting. The 737N T-43A is a mysterious beast known as the Red 55. With weird bulbous growths on the nose and tail, it tests top-secret stealth tech in flight. It is easily the strangest-looking jet in the whole family. The 737-200 Executive was the original luxury ride for the rich. It swapped out 100 cramped seats for plush sofas and fancy boardrooms. It proved that a rugged airliner could feel like a flying palace for elites. The 737-200 Surveyor was a specialized scout for the coast. With big radar blades on its back, it spent hours watching the ocean for ships and trouble. It turned a standard passenger jet into a very sharp set of eyes. The 737-300 was the start of a whole new era. It brought in those iconic flat-bottom engines and a much quieter ride for everyone. It really transformed the world's most popular jet into a modern, fuel-efficient king. The 737-300ER was a special extended-range version of the classic. It was designed to fly just a little bit further than the standard model for specific routes. It offered airlines extra flexibility for longer hops. The 737-300F was a dedicated factory freighter built for heavy lifting. With a giant side door, it could swallow large pallets with ease. It became a favorite for overnight delivery crews working in the dark of night. The 737-300SF was a passenger jet that got a second life as a cargo hauler. The special freighter conversion added a big cargo door to the side. It is a great example of how these airframes can work for decades. The 737-300BDFS was a heavy-duty freighter conversion. It was engineered to handle more weight and tough schedules. It proved that even older planes can stay relevant by moving packages across the entire globe. The 737-400 was the largest of the classic series. It offered way more seats for busy routes while keeping things simple for pilots. It was the perfect middle ground for airlines that needed extra capacity without the bulk. The 737-400C was a massive combi jet that could do it all. It carried a mix of people and cargo on the main deck at the same time. It was the ultimate solution for flying to remote cities that needed both vital supplies. The 737-400F was a purpose-built cargo jet with plenty of room. It took the stretched body of the 400 and filled it with freight. It remains a very reliable choice for moving goods on short regional routes. The 737-400SF was a clever conversion of a retired passenger plane. By cutting in a big door and reinforcing the floor, it became a package-hauling beast. The 737-500 was the little brother of the classic family. It was short and nimble, making it perfect for smaller airports. It offered modern tech in a compact size, acting as the perfect replacement for the old 200. The 737-700 was the first of the next generation family. It brought a brand new wing and way more range to the skies. It proved that this old design could still compete with the best of the modern world with ease. The 737-600 was the smallest member of the next generation fleet. It was designed to replace the older 500, but never sold very well. It remains a rare sight, mostly used by airlines flying in very cold climates. The 737-800 is the absolute king of the skies today. It is the most successful version ever built, found at almost every airport. It perfectly balances size, range, and efficiency for every airline on the planet. The 737-BBJ-1 was the ultimate corporate jet for the ultra-rich. It used the body of a 700, but the wings of an 800 for massive range. It turned a standard airliner into a private office in the clouds. The 737-BBJ-2 is a massive upgrade for those who need even more room. Based on the 800, it offers way more floor space for bedrooms and lounges. It is basically a flying luxury apartment for the elite world. The 737-900 was the original stretch of the next generation series. It was long and sleek, but lacked the extra exits needed for more seats. It was eventually outclassed by its newer brother that could carry more people. The 737-800W is the standard model equipped with tall winglets. Those curved tips help save a lot of fuel and make the plane look much more modern. It is the version you likely see at your local gate today. The C-40AI Clipper is the Navy version of the 700 Combi. It is a vital tool for moving sailors and gear across the oceans at a moment's notice. It is rugged and reliable, perfectly suited for the tough life of military service. The C-40B is a specialized office in the sky for military leaders and staff. It features high-tech gear and secure comms so they can work while flying. It is basically a mobile command post that can reach any corner of the globe fast. The C-40C is a dedicated transport for government officials and high-ranking guests. While it looks like a normal jet, the inside is built for work and rest. It plays a quiet but very important role in keeping our world leaders moving. The 737-300 SP was a classic jet that got a fresh look with those tall winglets. It stood for special performance, helping the older planes save fuel and fly more efficiently in a much tougher and modern market. The EE-7A Wedgetail is a powerful radar station that flies high above the clouds. With its long top fin, it tracks dozens of targets at once for the Air Force. It is basically a high-tech command center that never misses a detail. The 737-700ER is a marathon runner built for the longest routes. It uses the smaller 700 body but features the strong wings of the 800. This combo lets it fly across oceans without any stops. The 737-900ER was the ultimate version of the next-generation family. By adding extra doors and more fuel tanks, it could carry way more people much further. It finally fixed the limits of the original 900. The 737-BBJ3 is a massive flying mansion for those who want it all. Based on the 900 model, it has a huge cabin for luxury bedrooms and meeting rooms. It is the biggest of the original business jet family line. The P-8A Poseidon is the Navy's elite submarine hunter in the sky. It looks like a normal jet, but is packed with sensors and even torpedoes to protect the fleet. It spends long hours patrolling the vast and deep blue oceans. Today, the 737-800BCF is a recycled hero of the cargo world. Boeing takes old passenger jets and gives them a massive side door for freight. It is a great way to keep these reliable airframes working hard for years. The 737-800SF is another second life story for this famous jet. Converted by private companies, it hauls heavy pallets across continents overnight. It is a vital link in the global chain that gets packages to us. The 737 MAX 8 is the high-tech future of short-haul flying. It features those giant new engines and split winglets to save a massive amount of fuel. It was designed to be the most efficient and quietest version of the whole family. The 737-8 MAX 200 is the ultimate machine for budget travel. With an extra set of doors, it can fit 200 people into the cabin at once. It is built to move as many travelers as possible for the lowest prices. The 737-9 MAX is a long and powerful jet built for high capacity. It uses the latest tech to fly more people while using much less fuel than before. It is a great choice for airlines that need to fill a lot of seats every day. The 737-BBJ MAX is the pinnacle of luxury travel for the modern elite. It combines a massive cabin with the latest engine tech for incredible range. It can fly halfway around the world in total comfort and quietness today. The 737 MAX 7 is the long-distance specialist of the new family. It is a shorter airframe, but it can fly much further than its bigger brothers can. It is designed to conquer those long and thin routes that other jets struggle with. The 737 MAX 10 is the largest and longest version of this jet ever built. It can carry more passengers than any other model in history with ease. It is meant to be the ultimate rival in the busy world of single-aisle air travel today. The Boeing 747-100 launched the age of the jumbo jet. First flown in February 1969 and entering commercial service with Pan Am on January 22, 1970, it carried up to 366 passengers on 4 Pratt & Whitney JT9D engines and completely transformed what long-haul mass air travel was genuinely capable of becoming. The Boeing 747-100B was a strengthened evolution built for heavier payloads and longer range. Featuring a reinforced airframe, landing gear, and increased fuel capacity, only 9 were ever produced, 8 for Saudi Arabian Airlines and 1 for Iran Air, making it one of the rarest 747 variants ever manufactured. The Boeing 747-100B SUD brought the extended upper deck to the classic airframe. The stretched hump added meaningful seating capacity above the main cabin, previewing what the 747-300 would later standardize fleet-wide. A rare option available on paper to all 100Bs, but almost never actually ordered or performed. The Boeing 747-100 SR was purpose-built to survive the punishment of Japan's ultra-demanding domestic network. Structurally reinforced to endure an extraordinary 52,000 takeoff and landing cycles over its service life, it seated up to 550 passengers in an all-economy layout. JAL and ANA were its only 2 operators worldwide. The Boeing 747-100B SR blended the 100B's stronger airframe with the 100 SR's high-cycle structural design. Built exclusively for Japanese carriers ANA and JAL, 20 were produced in total. It was engineered to survive the relentless daily grind of dense domestic routes while still carrying hundreds of passengers per flight. The Boeing 747-100 BSR SUD is among the rarest 747s ever made. Only 2 were built, both for Japan Airlines. Combining the reinforced high-cycle airframe with the stretched upper deck first seen on the 747-300, these extraordinary aircraft could seat 563 passengers on Japan's busiest domestic routes simultaneously. The Boeing 747-100 SF was never built as a freighter. It became one through conversion. When airlines retired their early 747-100 passenger jets, many were transformed into special freighters. A large cargo door was added to the rear fuselage, cabin windows were plugged, and the jumbo jet found a new career in cargo. The Boeing 747 SP stands for Special Performance, and it earns that name. Boeing shortened the fuselage by over 47 feet, giving it dramatically reduced weight and exceptional range. It could fly non-stop routes no other jet of its era could manage, connecting cities like New York and Tokyo without a fuel stop. The Boeing 747-200B was the backbone of long-haul aviation for over a decade. More powerful engines, higher maximum takeoff weight, and extended range made it the workhorse of the 747 family. Airlines worldwide chose it to connect continents, and it became the most commercially successful of the classic era variants. The Boeing 747-200B SUD was a dramatic conversion that stretched the upper deck hump by 7 full meters. KLM and French carrier UTA were the primary customers, modernizing their 747-200 fleets to seat more premium passengers upstairs. A complex and expensive modification that gave aging airframes a whole new revenue life. The Boeing 747-200F was Boeing's dedicated factory-built freighter. Unlike converted passenger jets, it was designed from day one to haul cargo. No cabin windows, a massive nose-opening cargo door, and a reinforced floor. It gave airlines the ability to load oversized freight that simply wouldn't fit anywhere else. The Boeing 747-200C was the ultimate flexible aircraft. C stands for convertible, removable seats, a nose-opening cargo door, and the ability to reconfigure quickly between passenger and freight modes. Airlines could fly people one week and pallets of cargo the next, maximizing revenue on every possible route. The Boeing 747-200M was the original combi, half passenger jet, half freighter, flying simultaneously. A movable divider on the main deck separated passengers from cargo, letting airlines carry both on a single flight. KLM used it extensively on Caribbean routes, where freight and passenger demand shifted dramatically by season. The Boeing 747-200 MSUD combined the combi layout with a stretched upper deck conversion. Already a flexible aircraft carrying both passengers and cargo simultaneously, the stretched hump added even more premium seating above. A rare configuration that pushed the 747-200 versatility to its absolute limit. The Boeing 747-200 SF converted retired passenger jets into fully capable freighters. Adding a large cargo door to the rear fuselage, sealing windows and stripping the cabin interior gave airlines usable cargo aircraft at a fraction of what a purpose-built freighter would have cost them to acquire and operate. The Boeing 747-300 is the forgotten middle child of the 747 family. Its signature feature was the stretched upper deck. Longer, straight stairs replaced the spiral staircase, adding dozens of seats upstairs. Despite being a genuine improvement over the 200, it was quickly overshadowed by the 747-400 just 2 years later. The Boeing 747-300M brought the combi concept into the stretched upper deck era. Like its 200M predecessor, it carried passengers and cargo simultaneously on the main deck. The longer upper deck added more seats for premium travelers, making it a more capable and efficient mixed-load aircraft than any previous variant. The Boeing 747-300SR applied the short-range formula to the stretched upper deck generation. Built for high-frequency domestic Japanese routes, it combined the structural reinforcement needed for thousands of cycles with the greater passenger capacity of the 300 series. Japan Airlines was its primary and most dedicated operator. The Boeing 747-300 BCF converted retired 747-300 passenger jets into freighters under Boeing's official conversion program. A large cargo door was installed, the cabin was stripped, and the aircraft re-entered service hauling freight. It extended the working life of a 300 series airframes well beyond their passenger-carrying days. The Boeing 747-300 SF converted retired 300 series passenger jets into dedicated cargo aircraft. Modification involved installing cargo doors, stripping cabin interiors, and sealing over windows. The stretched upper deck remained in place, visually distinguishing these aircraft from freighter conversions of earlier 747 variants. The Boeing 747-400 is the most commercially successful 747 ever produced. A full glass cockpit, winglets, advanced high bypass engines, and dramatically extended range defined its era. It eliminated the third flight crew member, seated up to 660 passengers, and connected every major city on Earth for decades. The Boeing 747-400D was purpose-built for Japan's most congested and busiest domestic air routes. D stands for domestic. No winglets, no long-range fuel tanks, but maximum seating for 660 passengers in a dense single-class layout. It traded all intercontinental range for raw passenger capacity on short, saturated sectors. The Boeing 747-400M applied the combi formula to the modern age. The 747-400's glass cockpit and winglets combined with a mixed passenger and cargo main deck to deliver airline flexibility without compromising technology. KLM was its biggest supporter, using it wherever variable mixed-load routes made commercial sense. The Boeing 747-400F was the factory-built freighter of the 400 generation. A nose-opening cargo door, no cabin windows, and a reinforced main deck floor made it purpose-built for heavy freight. With a payload of 124 metric tons and a range of nearly 5,000 nautical miles, it dominated global air cargo for decades. The Boeing 747-400ER pushed the range of the 747 further than ever before. ER stands for Extended Range. Additional fuel tanks and a higher maximum takeoff weight gave it the legs to fly ultra-long routes. Qantas was the launch customer, using it on marathon sectors connecting Australia to the rest of the world. The Boeing 747-400ERF combined the range of the extended range variant with the cargo capability of the factory-built freighter. A higher maximum takeoff weight meant more fuel, more range, and heavier payloads. Air France Cargo was the first operator, using it to connect freight hubs across intercontinental distances. The Boeing 747-400 BCF gave retired passenger 747-400s a new career in cargo. Boeing converted freighter. The conversion removed seating, added a large side cargo door, and reinforced the floor. Without a nose door, it couldn't carry the most outsized loads, but it was far cheaper than buying a purpose-built freighter. The Boeing 747-400 BDSF was an Israeli company's answer to passenger-to-freighter conversion. Bedek Aviation Group developed this modification as an alternative to Boeing's own BCF program. Like the BCF, it turned retired 747-400 airliners into cargo jets, adding large side doors and stripping the interior for freight operations. The Boeing 747-400 LCF Dreamlifter might be the strangest 747 ever built. LCF stands for Large Cargo Freighter. Its fuselage was radically widened and stretched to create a cargo volume 3 times larger than a standard 747F. Built solely to ferry 787 Dreamliner sections between factories, only 4 were ever made. The Boeing 747-400 supertanker is one of the largest and most capable aerial firefighting aircraft ever built. Modified from a retired passenger jet, it carries nearly 75,000 liters of retardant. Its pressurized delivery system enabled selective precision drops, giving it far greater tactical flexibility than older tanker types. The Boeing 747-8I is the final and largest passenger 747 ever built. Intercontinental in name and capability, it stretched the fuselage further, added Gangs engines, and introduced a redesigned wing with raked tips. Lufthansa and Korean Air were its biggest operators, carrying up to 467 passengers in unmatched long-haul comfort. The Boeing 747-8F is the most advanced freighter Boeing has ever produced. Powered by Gangs 2B engines, it offers 16% better fuel efficiency than the 400F, while carrying 140 metric tons of cargo. Cargolux took the first delivery in 2012, and UPS, Atlas Air, and Korean Air Cargo became its biggest operators. The E-4A was the United States Air Force's first airborne command post, based on the 747 airframe. 3 were converted from 747-200Bs in the early 1970s, designed to keep military leadership operational even during a nuclear war. They were later upgraded to the more capable E-4B standard as technology advanced. The E-4B is known as the Doomsday Plane, and the nickname is earned. 4 of them exist, always on standby, capable of surviving a nuclear electromagnetic pulse. They serve as airborne command posts for the US National Command Authority, able to direct nuclear forces from the sky if the ground infrastructure is destroyed. The VC-25A is Air Force One, the most famous aircraft on Earth. Based on the 200B, 2 were built for the US President. Modified with advanced communications, aerial refueling capability, and a distinctive blue and white livery designed by Raymond Loewy, they have served every president since George H.W. Bush. The VC-25B is the next Air Force One, based on the Boeing 747-8I. 2 former VC-25B aircraft are being modified to replace the aging VC-25A fleet. With updated communications, longer range, and modern systems, they will carry US presidents well into the second half of the 21st century when they eventually enter service. The YAL-1A was one of the most ambitious weapons programs the US Air Force ever attempted. A heavily modified 747-400F carrying a chemical oxygen iodine laser in its nose, designed to intercept ballistic missiles during their boost phase. The program burned through billions before being cancelled in early 2011. The 747 SCAN-905NA carried the space shuttle on its back, literally. This modified 747-100 served NASA as a shuttle carrier aircraft, transporting orbiters between landing sites and Kennedy Space Center. With a space shuttle mounted on top, it was one of the most visually spectacular aircraft combinations ever flown. The 747 SCAN-911NA was the second of NASA's shuttle carrier aircraft, based on a 747-100SR airframe. Originally a Japan Airlines short-range domestic jet, it was acquired by NASA and modified to ferry space shuttle orbiters. Together with N905NA, these two aircraft kept the shuttle program moving between missions. The 747 SP SOFIA is a flying observatory unlike any other. SOFIA stands for Stratospheric Observatory for Infrared Astronomy. A 2.7-meter telescope is mounted inside the fuselage with a large door that opens in flight at high altitude. It allowed astronomers to study the universe from above most of Earth's atmosphere. The Boeing 747-8 BCF brings the passenger-to-freighter conversion program into the 8 series era. Retired 747-8 Intercontinentals are stripped of their cabins, fitted with a large cargo door, and returned to service hauling freight. It follows the same proven formula as the 747-400 BCF, extending the working life of the most advanced 747 ever built. The KC-747 is the rarest and most powerful aerial tanker ever built, on a 747 airframe. Iran received several 747-100s in the 1970s and had them fitted with a flying boom refueling system to support F-4 and F-14 fighters. The last surviving example was destroyed in an airstrike on Tehran's Mehrabad airport in March 2026, ending the final flying 747-100 on Earth. The 757 ARES, which stands for Airborne Research Integrated Experiment System, isn't your average airliner. It's a flying laboratory operated by NASA. Based on a modified 757-200, this plane was designed to test advanced flight deck technologies and safety systems. Inside, the passenger seats are gone, replaced by rows of computer workstations and flight test equipment. It features a 42,000-foot service ceiling and a range of 3,900 nautical miles. But its real spec is the data it generates. It has been used to pioneer synthetic vision systems that help pilots see through thick fog, making the sky safer for every other plane on this list. The 757 F-22 flying testbed is perhaps the weirdest looking 757 in existence. Nicknamed the Catfish, this was actually the very first 757 ever built. Boeing didn't send it to the boneyard, they gave it a nose job. It wears the actual nose radome of an F-22 Raptor and has a strange sensor wing mounted above the cockpit that mimics the Raptor's wing sweeps. This allows engineers to test the F-22's incredibly complex radar and electronic warfare systems in the air for 7 hours at a time, far longer than an actual fighter jet could stay up. It's a 1980s airliner carrying the brain of a 5th-generation stealth fighter. The 757 GCAP, also known as Excalibur, is the newest legend in the family. It's a heavily modified 757-200, working as a flight lead for the Global Combat Air Program. Much like the F-22 testbed, this plane has been fitted with a pointed, fighter-style nose and various green experimental fairings. It's operated by 2XL Aviation in the UK to test sensors for the next generation of fighter jets. Because the 757 is so stable and has such massive internal space, it's the perfect digital twin to ensure the software for future combat jets works perfectly before it ever touches a real fighter airframe. The 757-200 is the OG. This is the foundation of the entire fleet. First flying in 1982, it was designed to be the hot rod of the skies. With its massive Pratt & Whitney PW2000 or Rolls-Royce RB211 engines, it has a legendary thrust-to-weight ratio. It can carry up to 239 passengers, but it's famous for its short-field performance, taking off from high altitude or short runways where other planes struggle. Major airlines like Delta, United and American use these to bridge the gap between small domestic hops and long-haul transatlantic flights. It's the ultimate Goldilocks plane. Not too big, not too small, but incredibly powerful. The 757-200 PCF is a second-life superstar. PCF stands for Precision Cargo Freighter. These aren't built by Boeing as freighters. They are converted by a company called Precision Conversions. The big selling point here is weight. They strip out the entire passenger interior and the heavy vacuum waste systems, saving thousands of pounds. This allows it to carry 15 main deck pallets. DHL is a massive fan of this variant. It's the go-to choice for operators who want the lowest operating empty weight possible, maximizing every pound of profit in the cargo hold. The 757-200 BCF is Boeing's official recycling program. When passenger airlines retired their 757-200s, Boeing took them back and performed the surgery themselves. They install a massive 134-inch by 85-inch side cargo door and reinforce the floor to handle heavy freight. It has a payload capacity of roughly 36,000 kilograms. You'll see these wearing the colors of FedEx or Ethiopia Airlines. It's basically a factory-backed makeover that turned a retired passenger jet into a global logistics workhorse. The 757-200CB is the mullet of the aviation world, cargo in the front and passengers in the back. This combi variant is rare. It features a large cargo door at the front, but keeps a cabin for about 42 to 54 passengers in the rear. Air Transport International is the most famous operator. These are perfect for remote charters or military contracts where you need to move a specialized team and all their heavy gear on the exact same aircraft. The 757-200F is the only version on this list that was a freighter from day one. Unlike the BCF or PCF, this didn't have windows to begin with. Boeing built 80 of these specifically for UPS. Because it was designed as a freighter at the factory, it doesn't have passenger doors along the fuselage, which makes the airframe slightly stronger and simpler. It's powered by those reliable Pratt & Whitney engines and can haul 11,489 gallons of fuel, making it a staple for overnight delivery routes across the United States. The 757-200M is a very specific mixed variant, often confused with the Combi. Royal Nepal Airlines famously operated this model. The key difference is the flexibility. The seats could be removed or moved to change the ratio of cargo to passengers depending on the flight. In a place like the Himalayas, where every flight is a challenge, having a plane that can be a bus one day and a truck the next was a huge advantage. Only one was ever built directly by Boeing, making it one of the rarest 757s in history. The 757-200PF stands for Package Freighter. While it's very similar to the 200F, the PF designation is most commonly associated with the specific configurations delivered to UPS starting in the late 80s. It features a simplified cockpit and no windows, optimized entirely for the hub-and-spoke delivery system. It's capable of landing on runways as short as 4,660 feet when lightly loaded, which is insane for a jet of this size. If your Amazon package arrived overnight, there's a good chance a 200PF helped get it there. The 757-200SF was the first major conversion program, launched primarily for DHL. These were converted by Boeing Wichita. They take a standard passenger 757 and gut it, but unlike the BCF, the SF often retains its original passenger entry doors. It carries 14 pallets, one less than the PCF, but it was the pioneer that proved the 757 had a massive future in the cargo industry after the passenger airlines were done with it. The 757-200W isn't a separate production model, but it's the ultimate evolution. The W stands for winglets. These 8-foot-tall carbon fiber extensions on the wingtips were designed by aviation partners Boeing. They reduced drag so much that they increased the plane's range by 200 nautical miles and cut fuel burn by 5%. Almost every major 757 still flying today has been retrofitted with these. If you see a 757 that looks modern and sleek, you're looking at a 200W. The 757-300 is the long boy. Boeing stretched the fuselage by nearly 24 feet, making it the longest single-aisle twin-jet ever built. It's a niche beast, only 55 were ever made. It can carry up to 295 passengers, which is wide-body territory, but on a narrow-body budget. It's incredibly efficient for high-density routes like those flown by Condor, Delta, and United. Pilots call it the pencil because of its long, thin appearance. Despite its length, it still keeps that legendary 757 climbing power, though it needs a bit more runway than its shorter brother. The Honeywell Boeing 757 is a flying laboratory, and the fifth 757 ever built. It's famous for a unique pylon on the right side of the fuselage used to test a third engine in mid-air. Inside, it's packed with engineering stations to monitor everything from new turbofans to advanced weather radar. Operated by Honeywell Aerospace, this three-engine jet is the ultimate testbed for future tech. The C-32A is the 757's most prestigious job. It is the Air Force Two. When the Vice President of the United States travels, this is the plane they use. Based on the 757-200, the interior is divided into a communications center, a fully private stateroom, and a staff cabin. It's packed with classified defensive systems and advanced doomsday communication gear, so the VP can run the country from 30,000 feet. You'll recognize it by its stunning blue and white livery and the United States of America emblazoned on the side. The C-32B is the C-32A's mysterious, low-profile sibling. While the A model is meant to be seen, the B model, nicknamed the Gatekeeper, is meant to disappear. Only two of these exist, and they are painted in plain white with no markings. They are used for the Foreign Emergency Support Team and classified special operations. These planes are unique because they have a specialized refueling probe above the cockpit, allowing them to be refueled in mid-air by tankers. This gives them essentially infinite range for secret, non-stop missions anywhere on the globe. The 767-200 launched the family in 1982 with United Airlines, debuting as a high-tech wide-body twin jet. It has a length of 159 feet and a typical range of 3,900 nautical miles. Powered by JT9D or CF6 engines, it seats up to 255 passengers. This model introduced the digital two-crew flight deck, a massive shift in aviation history. While mostly retired from passenger service, early units were operated by giants like American, Delta, and Air Canada, setting the stage for decades of success. Entering service in 1984 with El Al, the 767-200ER variant added a center fuel tank to push its reach to 6,600 nautical miles. It holds the 159-foot fuselage of the original, but features a higher maximum takeoff weight of 395,000 pounds. This aircraft was a pioneer for ETOPS flights, proving twin jets could cross the Atlantic safely. Notable operators included Continental, Ethiopian Airlines, and All Nippon Airways, who utilized its endurance to connect distant global hubs efficiently. The 767-200SF is a special freighter conversion that transforms retired passenger airframes into cargo haulers. It features a large main deck cargo door and a reinforced floor to support a structural payload of roughly 94,000 pounds. It is a favorite for express package carriers needing a reliable mid-sized jet. You will frequently see this model flying for regional logistics specialists like ABX Air, Amerijet International, and Star Air, keeping supply chains moving across continents. The 767-200ERSF is a cargo conversion based on the high gross weight extended range airframe. It offers a unique combination of a 4,800 nautical mile range and a heavy payload capacity of about 45 tons. This makes it ideal for long-range, low-density cargo routes that don't require a larger jet. It is commonly operated by West Atlantic and various wet lease providers who need the extra endurance of the ER fuel system to reach distant destinations while hauling significant freight volume. The 767-300 arrived in 1986 with Japan Airlines, featuring a 21-foot stretch over the original model. This increased passenger capacity to roughly 290 in a two-class cabin, while maintaining a range of 3,900 nautical miles. With a maximum takeoff weight of 350,000 pounds, it provided superior seat mile costs for high-density regional routes. Though its range is shorter than the ER, it was a dominant force for domestic travel in the US and Japan, operated by carriers like ANA and Delta. The 767-300ER is the most successful wide-body in its class, with over 580 units built. Launching with American Airlines in 1988, it combined a 180-foot fuselage with a massive 5,980 nautical mile range. It features a maximum takeoff weight of 412,000 pounds and is often seen with drag-reducing winglets. This flagship remains in active service with Delta Airlines and United Airlines, having spent decades as the primary workhorse for transatlantic and high-density transcontinental travel. The 767-300F is the only dedicated, factory-built freighter in the family, debuting with UPS in 1995. Built without windows, it features a reinforced structure and a specialized cargo system for 24 main deck pallets. It carries a structural payload of 58 tons across 3,255 nautical miles. This model is the backbone of global e-commerce, with massive fleets operated by FedEx Express and UPS Airlines. Its continued production into the mid-2020s highlights its unmatched utility in logistics. The Boeing 767-300 BCF is an official OEM program that turns retired 300ER passenger jets into cargo aircraft. It provides a 53-ton payload capacity and a range of 3,100 nautical miles. By adding a side cargo door and a rigid barrier wall, Boeing gives older jets a second life in the freight market. You will find these aircraft flying for major global carriers such as LATAM Cargo, SF Airlines, and various Amazon Air partners, offering a cost-effective wide-body cargo solution. The 767-300 BDSF is a conversion developed by Israel Aerospace Industries, IAI. It converts the 300ER into a freighter with a 53,000 kilogram payload and a 450 cubic meter volume. It is highly regarded for its versatile deck configuration, accommodating up to 24 pallets. This model is a staple for cargo giants like DHL Express and Cargojet, providing the capacity of a wide body with the reliability of the 767 platform, specifically tailored for high-frequency freight routes. The 767-300 SF designation applies to various special freighter conversions that utilize specific third-party modification kits. These aircraft are optimized for 53 tons of payload and feature standardized cargo loading systems to support rapid turnaround times. They are particularly popular with lease companies and smaller cargo airlines like Air Transport International. These planes are essential for middle-mile logistics, moving heavy freight between major hubs for the world's largest shippers. The 767-400ER is the largest variant, featuring a 21-foot stretch and distinctive raked wingtips. Entering service in 2000, it carries up to 375 passengers across 5,625 nautical miles with a massive 450,000-pound takeoff weight. It features an advanced flight deck and a cabin interior inspired by the 777. With only 37 units ever produced, it is a rare sight in the skies, operated exclusively by Delta Airlines and United Airlines as a high-capacity replacement for older wide-body trijets. The KC-46A is the US Air Force's premier aerial refueler, based on the 767-2C airframe. It combines a 200ER fuselage with 300ER wings and landing gear to carry 212,000 pounds of fuel. It features a digital cockpit, a remote vision system for its refueling boom, and the ability to carry 18 pallets or 58 passengers. While primarily used by the US Air Force, it represents the absolute peak of 767 military technology, providing strategic refueling and aeromedical support globally. The KC-767 is a multi-role tanker transport used by international air forces, including Italy and Japan. It is a derivative of the 767-200ER, designed to perform mid-air refueling via boom or hose and drogue systems. It can carry up to 160,000 pounds of fuel while simultaneously hauling 200 passengers or 19 cargo pallets. Its versatility allows it to support long-range deployments and humanitarian missions, serving as a critical force multiplier for the Japan Air Self-Defense Force. The E-767 is a specialized AWACS aircraft operated exclusively by Japan. It mounts a massive rotating radar dome on a 767-200ER airframe, providing 360-degree surveillance for hundreds of miles. Inside, it houses 19 mission consoles for battle management and tracking over 3,000 targets at once. It offers much more space and endurance than older radar planes, allowing the Japan Air Self-Defense Force to maintain a constant, high-tech eye over their territory and surrounding international waters. The 7672C is the high-performance military provision freighter that serves as the foundation for the KC-46 Pegasus. It is a unique hybrid built on the main production line, combining a 767-200ER fuselage with a much stronger wings, landing gear and cargo deck of the 767-300ER. With a maximum takeoff weight of 415,000 pounds, it is designed to endure the high-stress demands of military operations. Though often seen in its tanker row, the 2C represents the core airframe that makes modern aerial refueling and heavy-duty transport possible. The Multi-Mission Tanker Transport, MMTT, is a specialized conversion by Israel Aerospace Industries, IAI. It transforms pre-owned 767-200ER airframes into tankers capable of aerial refueling, cargo, and VIP transport. It features a fly-by-wire boom and wing refueling pods carrying up to 200,000 pounds of fuel. The Colombian Aerospace Force operates this model, nicknamed Jupiter, while India recently approved a deal for 6 conversions to be delivered through 2030 to replace aging tankers. The original 777-200 changed everything in 1994. It was the first Boeing jet designed entirely on a computer using 3D software, ensuring every part fit with surgical precision. As the launch model of the family, it introduced fly-by-wire technology to the Boeing lineup, replacing heavy manual cables with electronic signals. While it was built for A-market regional routes, its massive cabin width set a new standard for passenger comfort. It proved that a twin-engine jet could handle the capacity of a jumbo. Though only 88 were built, this airframe laid the foundation for every variant that followed. The 777-200 QTD, or Quiet Technology Demonstrator, was a flying laboratory. Boeing used this specific airframe to bridge the gap between power and silence. If you look at modern engines today and see those jagged chevrons on the back of the nacelles, you are looking at the legacy of the QTD. By testing how sawtooth edges mixed hot and cold air, Boeing and NASA found a way to significantly slash takeoff noise. This plane didn't carry passengers, it carried the future of acoustics. It ensured that future 777 models could fly into noise-sensitive cities without waking up the neighbors. The Boeing 777-200ER stands for Extended Range, and it is the plane that truly conquered the Atlantic. By significantly increasing the maximum takeoff weight and adding massive fuel tanks in the center wing, Boeing turned a regional jet into a global marathon runner. This variant allowed airlines to ditch their fuel-hungry 4-engine jets in favor of 2 massive, efficient GE90 or Trent engines. With over 400 units delivered, it became the backbone of international travel for decades. It struck the perfect balance of seat count and endurance, making the world feel much smaller for everyone. Known as the Worldliner, the 777-200LR was built for one purpose: to connect any 2 cities on the planet. It holds the world record for the longest non-stop commercial flight, traveling over 22 hours from Hong Kong to London, the long way. To achieve this, Boeing added 3 optional auxiliary fuel tanks and increased the wingspan with raked tips. It is a niche machine with only 61 ever produced, but it serves routes that were once thought impossible. For airlines like Emirates, the LR is a scalpel, carving out ultra-long haul paths across the globe with ease. The 777-200LRMF, or Mammoth, represents the ultimate second life for a long-range jet. As passenger LRs retire, Mammoth freighters breathes new life into them by stripping the cabin and reinforcing the floor for heavy cargo. This conversion turns a high-end passenger jet into a rugged hauler capable of carrying massive payloads across oceans. It is a brilliant bit of engineering that capitalizes on the incredible structural integrity of the original airframe. Instead of sitting in a desert boneyard, these mammoths continue to serve the global supply chain for another 20 years. While others are converted, the 777-200LRF was born to haul. It is a purpose-built freighter that combines the shorter fuselage of the 200 with the high-performance wings and fuel systems of the larger 300ER. This hybrid design allows it to carry 102 metric tons of cargo while maintaining incredible fuel efficiency. It has become the gold standard for logistics giants like FedEx and DHL. By offering more reliability and lower costs than the aging MD-11, the LRF ensured that the 777 family would dominate the cargo world just as it dominated the passenger market. The 777 business jet is the pinnacle of luxury, often referred to as a flying palace for heads of state and billionaires. Based on the 200LR or 300ER platforms, these aircraft are stripped of hundreds of seats to make room for master bedrooms, boardrooms, and private cinemas. Because they carry so little weight compared to a commercial flight, their range is staggering, allowing owners to fly halfway around the world in total privacy. It is the ultimate status symbol, offering a level of space and comfort that a standard Gulfstream or Bombardier simply cannot match at any price. The Boeing 777F is the dedicated cargo variant that defined modern air logistics. It utilizes the powerful GE90-115B engines, the most powerful jet engines in the world for a generation, to lift massive loads with ease. Unlike converted freighters, the F model features a main deck cargo door designed for maximum loading efficiency from day one. It bridges the gap between smaller freighters and the massive 7478F. With its long-range capabilities, it allows cargo operators to bypass hubs and fly direct, saving time and fuel. It is the undisputed heavyweight champion of twins. The 777-300 was the first stretch of the family, designed to provide massive capacity for high-traffic routes. Boeing added 33 feet to the fuselage, allowing airlines to carry up to 550 passengers in a single-class layout. It was specifically intended to replace the older 747-100 and 200 models on regional trunk routes. While it lacked the extreme range of later models, it was a workhorse in Asia, moving massive crowds between cities like Tokyo and Seoul. It proved that the 777 design could be scaled up without losing its soul. The 777-300ER is arguably the most successful widebody aircraft ever built. By pairing the stretched fuselage with the legendary GE90 engines and raked wingtips, Boeing created a quad killer. It was so efficient that it single-handedly forced the retirement of nearly all four-engine competitors. Every major global airline adopted it as their flagship. It offers the perfect mix of massive passenger capacity and transoceanic range. From its signature landing gear to its massive engine nacelles, the 300ER is the undisputed king of the modern commercial aviation era. The 777-300ER-SF, known as the Big Twin, is a game-changer for the cargo industry. This variant takes retired 300ER passenger planes and converts them into the largest twin-engine freighters in existence. It offers significantly more volume than the standard freighter, making it the perfect tool for e-commerce and express packages, which are often light but bulky. By recycling these legendary passenger jets, the ERSF program provides a cost-effective way for cargo airlines to modernize their fleets. It ensures that the 300ER legacy lives on in the hangars. The 777-9 is the future of the skies, acting as the flagship of the new 777X family. It is the longest twin-engine airliner ever built, featuring a massive new composite wing. To fit into existing airport gates, Boeing designed incredible folding wingtips that retract after landing, a first for commercial aviation. Powered by the giant GE9X engines, it is designed to carry over 420 passengers with 10% better efficiency than its predecessors. It brings 21st-century technology to a classic airframe, ensuring the 777 remains the gold standard for the next several decades. The 777-8F is the next-generation heavy lifter designed to replace the aging freighter fleets of the world. Based on the 777X platform, it features the same advanced carbon fiber wings and ultra-efficient GE9X engines as its passenger sibling. It is built to carry more payload further than any twin-engine freighter before it, while slashing fuel consumption and emissions. As global trade continues to grow, the 8F provides the range and volume needed to keep the world connected. The Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner changed the game by ditching traditional aluminum for a 50% composite airframe. Launched in 2011, it was the first major airliner built primarily from carbon fiber reinforced polymers, making it lighter and 20% more fuel efficient than the jets it replaced. Passengers love it for the massive electronically dimmable windows and a lower cabin altitude that helps fight jet lag. With its distinctive raked wingtips and noise-reducing engine chevrons, the Dash 8 is the shortest member of the family but remains a long-haul powerhouse that can connect almost any two cities on Earth. If the Dash 8 was the pioneer, the 787-9 is the superstar of the family. Stretching 20 feet longer than its predecessor, the Dash 9 can carry about 290 passengers, while actually flying further than the smaller version. It's the ultimate middle child, offering a massive 7,600 nautical mile range that makes it the go-to choice for the world's longest routes. By sharing the same wingspan as the Dash 8, but featuring a strengthened fuselage and higher fuel capacity, it perfectly balances efficiency and payload. It's no wonder this variant accounts for the vast majority of 787 orders worldwide today. The 787-10 is the giant of the Dreamliner family, stretched nearly 40 feet longer than the original Dash 8 model. Designed as a high-capacity hub-to-hub specialist, it can carry over 330 passengers in a standard configuration. While it has a slightly shorter range than the Dash 9 due to its massive size and weight, it offers incredible fuel efficiency per seat, making it a favorite for busy transatlantic and Asian routes. It shares 95% of its design with the Dash 9, allowing airlines to easily swap crews. It's the ultimate evolution of the series, trading raw distance for maximum passenger moving power. The BBJ 787 is the ultimate flying palace, taking the Dreamliner's efficiency and turning it into a billionaire's playground. Based on the Dash 8 and Dash 9 platforms, the Boeing business jet version replaces hundreds of seats with sprawling master suites, dining rooms, and even walk-in showers. Because it lacks the weight of 300 passengers and their luggage, its range is absolutely staggering. It can fly over 17 hours non-stop, connecting almost any two cities on the globe. It is the gold standard for heads of state and the world's elite, combining cutting-edge tech with unmatched interior space.